My father gave my inheritance to his mistress. Then she called me, desperate. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. When my father died, I expected pain. I expected regret, guilt, even anger for things unsaid. What I didn't expect was betrayal so sharp it gutted me. My own blood, slicing me clean through. Dad left my entire inheritance. The house my mother grew up in, the savings he built for decades, the last scrap of family pride. Not to me, his only child, but to a woman younger than my youngest aunt. His mistress, Vanessa. There's no elegant way to describe that kind of humiliation. The lawyer didn't meet my eyes when he handed me the thin envelope. No key, no deed, just a cold letter and a polite, "I'm sorry." I sat there, numb, as Vanessa dabbed fake tears from the corner of her perfect eyes, clutching my father's like it was a love letter. Outside, the funeral guests whispered, their sympathy already turning to pity. I tried to rebuild. Rented a dingy apartment, took double shifts, pawned family jewelry just to cover bills. Every time I thought I could breathe, I saw Vanessa on social media, dinners at places I'd only seen in movies, shopping sprees, vacations in the Maldives. All paid for by my father's legacy. My legacy. The months bled together, resentment growing sharp in my chest. I replayed the last year, Dad growing distant, closing his study door, snapping at me for asking about finances. Vanessa's laugh echoing through our halls, sweet as poison. And then, last night, my phone rang at 2 a.m., a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something, a sick instinct, made me answer. "Please." Vanessa's voice cracked, frantic, nothing like her usual silk. "You have to help me. I'm in trouble, real trouble. They're after me. I can't trust anyone else." The woman who stole everything from me was begging for help. I gripped the phone, my mind racing. Was this karma or a trap? What secrets was she hiding now? For the first time since Dad died, I felt something like hope and a hunger for the truth. I barely slept after that call. Vanessa's voice haunted me, ragged and desperate, so different from the woman who smiled at my father's funeral, who took everything and left me with nothing. The person who ruined my life was suddenly terrified, and for some twisted reason, she wanted my help. By morning, curiosity burned hotter than anger. I scrolled through Vanessa's social media. Her feeds had gone silent. No new photos of champagne brunches or rooftop sunsets. Just a void where her perfect life used to be. The last post was a month ago, a shot of her at some luxury spa, all pearls and white linen, #blessed. It felt staged, almost like a goodbye. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time, I picked up without thinking. "Did you get my message?" Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. "I can't talk long. Please, I need somewhere safe. You're the only person who can help me." It was surreal. She sounded broken, paranoid. I asked what happened, but she only begged to meet, tonight, somewhere public. Against my better judgment, I agreed, but insisted on a crowded cafe downtown. I arrived early, watching every stranger who came in. When Vanessa finally appeared, I almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the glamorous woman from Instagram. She looked thin, eyes wild and red, hair unbrushed under a hoodie. She slid into the seat opposite me and gripped my hands so hard it hurt. "They said you'd come for me, that you'd want revenge. But you don't know what he did, what he hid." She broke off, glancing around like someone was watching. In that moment, I realized I wasn't the only one betrayed. Something darker was happening beneath the surface. Suddenly, Vanessa's phone vibrated. One look at the screen, and her face went pale. She shoved it across the table. The text read, "We warned you. If you talk, you're next." My heart thudded as I stared at the message. For a split second, I wondered if this was some twisted act, another manipulation, but Vanessa's shaking hands told me she was truly terrified. She kept scanning the cafe, her breath coming in sharp, shallow bursts. I'd never seen her like this. No jewelry, no bravado, just fear. "Who sent that?" I whispered, glancing around. The hum of coffee machines and clinking cups suddenly felt sinister, like a cover for something darker. She hesitated. "I don't know. At first, I thought it was you. I thought you hated me enough to." She broke off, her voice cracking. But then the call started. Then the letters. Then someone broke into my condo. I called the police, but but nothing. I wanted to say I didn't care, that she deserved every second of this after what she did to me. But the fear in her eyes was too real. And then she blurted, "It's about your father. It's about the money." That stopped me cold. What about the money? She swallowed hard. He wasn't who you thought he was. The money, it didn't all come from his business. There were deals. People who wanted their cut. When he died, they came for me. They think I know where the rest is. But I don't. I swear I don't. I felt like the ground was tilting under me. My father, a criminal? Suddenly, pieces clicked. Secretive phone calls, unannounced business trips, the way he snapped at me when I asked about work. Vanessa's story rang too true. I opened my mouth to ask more, but Vanessa's phone rang again. The caller ID was blocked. She flinched and almost dropped it. The cafe door swung open, and a man in a black coat stepped inside, scanning the room. Vanessa shrank back, eyes wide. "Is that one of them?" I breathed, but she was already slipping out of her chair, grabbing my arm. "We have to go? Now." They found me. We burst out of the cafe, Vanessa clutching my arm like a lifeline. The man in the black coat followed, moving faster than I expected for someone trying to blend in. My mind raced. What had I just stepped into? Was I really risking my safety for the woman who stole my inheritance? But adrenaline pushed the questions aside. All I could think about was escape. Vanessa yanked me down a side street, her breaths ragged. "Keep moving, don't look back," she hissed. My shoes pounded against the wet pavement. A car engine roared nearby. Was it theirs? I didn't dare check. We ducked into a grimy alley, dodging trash bins and puddles. Behind us, footsteps echoed. One set, then two. My hands shook as I pulled Vanessa behind a dumpster, the stink making my eyes water. We pressed ourselves into the shadows, hearts pounding, barely breathing. From the mouth of the alley, a low voice carried, "She's here. I saw her with someone." My blood ran cold. Whoever these people were, they weren't just after Vanessa. I'd become a target, too. Vanessa's grip tightened. "I shouldn't have called you," she whispered, voice trembling. I was desperate. "They want the money, and they'll do anything to get it. Your father promised them things he never delivered. Now they think I have his secrets." Footsteps faded, replaced by the distant blare of city traffic. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Two enemies forced into uneasy alliance by fear and something deeper. The truth neither of us really knew. "Where's the money, Vanessa?" I finally whispered, my anger flaring through the terror. "What did he leave behind?" She looked at me, haunted. "There are papers. Hidden. But I don't know where. All I have is a key your father gave me before he died." She reached into her coat, pressing something cold and metallic into my palm. It was an old, ornate key. My father's initials were etched into the side. I stared at the key in my palm, its weight suddenly immense, like it could unlock the past and burn it all down at once. My father's initials gleamed in the faint streetlight, a cruel reminder that even in death, he was still pulling my life's strings. Vanessa watched me, her eyes pleading and hollow. "We can't stay here," I whispered. "We need to move. Fast." We slipped out of the alley and vanished into the flow of the city. My thoughts spun as I led Vanessa to the only place I could trust, a rundown hostel, paid in cash, no names. She collapsed on the narrow bed, shaking, while I stood by the window, staring at the key. "What does it open?" I demanded, my patience frayed. She took a shuddering breath. "A safe deposit box. Your father rented it in both our names, but I never saw what was inside. He said if anything happened, I'd know what to do." I thought he meant protecting myself, not all of this. 100 emotions warred inside me. Betrayal, suspicion, a perverse hope. Was this the last thing my father left me? Or another trick, another humiliation? "Where's the box?" I asked, voice tight. She nodded. "Bank on Madison, Central Branch." I memorized the number, 714. But if those men are watching, we can't go together. It's too risky. I glanced at my phone. Unread messages from an unknown number filled the screen, each one more threatening than the last. Vanessa pulled her knees to her chest. "They won't stop until they get what they want. Please, you have to believe me. If we work together, maybe we both get out alive." I didn't know if I trusted her or myself, but as I looked at the key, I realized there was no turning back. In the silence, my phone lit up again. This time, the message was for me. "We know who you are. Leave it alone or you're next." The message sent an icy shiver down my spine. I tried to steady my breathing, but my fingers trembled as I read it again. We know who you are. Leave it alone or you're next. Not even my father, in all his coldness, had ever made me feel this hunted. I showed the phone to Vanessa. She recoiled, hugging herself tighter. They know about you now, she whispered. I'm sorry. I should never have dragged you in. I wanted to scream, to blame her for everything. But what good would it do? We were both cornered rats now, by my father's secrets, and by the people he'd wronged. I sat down hard on the creaky bed, my thoughts racing back to my childhood. I remembered how safe I used to feel in Dad's arms, how his voice calmed me. Now every memory felt like a lie. Had he always been hiding this double life, this danger? Vanessa broke the silence. We need help. Someone who knows how these people think. Do you have anyone? A lawyer? Police contact? I almost laughed. The only lawyer I knew was the one who delivered the will, and he'd barely looked me in the eye. Cops. What could I say? Hi. My dead dad's criminals are threatening me because his mistress called for help. We're on our own, I said, bitterness in my voice. But maybe that's better. No one else to betray us. A sudden noise outside made us both jump. A sharp knock, 3 times, on the hostel door. I froze, motioning Vanessa to stay silent. The knocks came again, louder, insistent. Vanessa mouthed, "Is it them?" Her eyes wide with terror. My heart hammered as I crept to the door, every nerve screaming. I pressed my eye to the peephole and saw a familiar face from the past. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years, someone I never expected to see here. Open up. We need to talk. Now. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the lock. Behind me, Vanessa shrank into the corner, silent as prey. On the other side of the door was Eric, my father's old business partner, the uncle figure who disappeared from our lives after Mom's funeral. The last person I expected to find at a place like this. He looked older, rougher, deep lines around his eyes. He glanced nervously up and down the hall before pushing his way inside as soon as I cracked the door. "You picked a terrible place to hide," he muttered, eyes darting between me and Vanessa. "And you're in over your heads." Vanessa tensed, but Eric ignored her, focusing on me. "I got a call this morning. Old contacts. They're after both of you. Whatever your father left, it's worth more than you think." I demanded answers. What was my dad involved in, Eric? Why is everyone so afraid? Why did he cut me out? Eric let out a tired sigh and ran a hand through his graying hair. Your father got into things, money laundering, off-the-books deals, silent partners with dangerous reputations. When he met Vanessa, he thought she'd be an easy front. He was wrong. Vanessa bristled. He never told me any of this. I was just. Eric's stare cut her off. No one's innocent in this mess, least of all you. But right now, that key you have, that's what everyone's after. It doesn't just open a safe deposit box. It opens leverage. I swallowed, trying to process it all. My inheritance was never just money. It was a weapon, and I'd been left holding the trigger. Eric lowered his voice. "If you want to survive, you need to move. Fast. There's only one shot to end this. And you're running out of time." Suddenly, the window shattered, a brick landing at Vanessa's feet with a note tied to it. "Last warning. Give us the key. Or else." Glass rained across the floor as Vanessa recoiled, her scream muffled by her hands. I lunged for the window, heart hammering, but whoever threw the brick had vanished into the city's chaos. Sirens howled far off, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding in our dingy room. Eric picked up the brick, untying the grimy note with shaking fingers. He read it silently, jaw tightening. "They're done playing," he said, voice low. "You have to decide. Hand over the key, or risk everything." Vanessa shook her head, tears streaming. "If we give them the key, they'll kill us anyway. That's how these people work. Your father, he made enemies. Dangerous ones." For a second, I almost snapped, blamed her, blamed Eric, blamed my dead father for every wrong turn. But the key in my hand burned cold. If I surrendered it, I might lose the only leverage I had left. If I kept it, I was bait. Eric pulled me aside. "There's another option. I know someone at the bank, someone I trust. We get in, open the box, see what's really inside. If it's just money, maybe we negotiate. If it's something else," he didn't finish. The implication hung heavy in the air. I glanced at Vanessa, who looked small and lost for the first time. "Can I trust either of you?" I asked, my voice raw. "Because right now, It feels like everyone's playing their own game. Eric met my gaze, steady but weary. You want justice? You want your life back? Sometimes you have to walk through hell to get it. Vanessa wiped her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. Whatever's in that box, it's our only chance. Please, don't leave me alone in this. The hotel phone rang, jarring us all. No one moved. On the third ring, I picked up, my voice trembling. A distorted voice growled. Last chance. Midnight. Abandoned docks. Bring the key, or you both disappear. For a moment, I just stood there, the phone cold against my ear, the threat echoing in my skull. Midnight. Abandoned docks. It sounded like something from a nightmare or a cheap crime drama, except this was real, and if I made the wrong move, it could be the last thing I ever did. Eric paced the room, anger simmering beneath his calm. You can't go, he said. They'll kill you for the key, and Vanessa too. We need to get to the bank first, find out what your father hid, and use it as bargaining power. Vanessa wrung her hands, face pale. They'll come for us no matter what. Maybe if you go, just you, they'll let me go. I was never the one they really wanted. Her words stung. After all this, after the lies and pain, I almost wished I could just walk away and let her face the consequences. But some twisted sense of justice, maybe even pity, kept me from leaving her behind. I stared at the old key, feeling its weight. My father had left me nothing but trouble, and now my life, maybe all our lives, hung on what I chose to do with it. Eric leaned close, lowering his voice. You trust me just this once? Let me make a call. I can get us into the bank before midnight. If whatever's inside that box can buy us safety, we take it to the docks and negotiate from a position of strength. But we do this together or not at all. For a long, tense moment, no one spoke. I could feel the walls closing in, every second ticking louder. Finally, I nodded. Fine. We go to the bank. But if either of you double-cross me, I swear. Eric cut me off. Nobody's double-crossing anyone. Not tonight. As we gathered our things and prepared to slip into the city's shadows, Vanessa clung to my sleeve, her voice shaking. If we do this, there's no going back. Whatever your father was hiding, the truth might destroy us all. The city felt colder than ever as we crept through the side streets toward the central bank. Every passing car made me flinch. Vanessa stayed pressed close to me, her fear contagious. Eric walked ahead, his old confidence returned, making quick calls in hushed tones to his contact at the bank. We arrived at a side entrance near midnight. Eric's contact, a nervous-looking man in a security uniform, ushered us through a staff-only door. You have 20 minutes, he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. After that, I can't help you. The vault was larger than I'd imagined. Cold metal, the air thick with secrets. Vanessa fumbled the key into the lock of box 714. My breath caught as she slid it open. Inside, there was no cash, no jewels. Instead, a battered folder, a flash drive, and a handwritten note addressed to me. Eric took the folder, scanning the contents. His face went white. Bank accounts, shell companies, payoffs to people I'd rather never meet again. Your father kept meticulous records, and he was laundering money for some very bad people. Vanessa clutched the flash drive. What's this? She whispered. I tore open the letter. My father's handwriting, unmistakable. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Trust no one. These people will never let you go once you're involved. The information here can buy your safety, or it can ruin you. I'm sorry. My vision blurred with rage and grief. This was my inheritance. Secrets, danger, and the bitter taste of betrayal. The door rattled suddenly. Someone outside, pounding to get in. Eric hissed, we're out of time. Decide. Do we destroy this, or use it as leverage? They'll kill for these secrets. And if we're caught, no one will save us. As the pounding grew louder, I realized this was it. The moment the past would finally crash into the present, and someone would pay the price. Adrenaline surged through my veins. Eric stuffed the folder and flash drive into his coat. Vanessa grabbed my hand, eyes wide. The pounding on the vault door grew frantic, metal groaning under each blow. We had minutes, maybe less. Back exit, Eric whispered. Move. We slipped through a narrow maintenance corridor as alarms began to wail. Someone had tripped the silent security. Our footsteps echoed down sterile concrete halls. Vanessa clutched the flash drive to her chest, whispering prayers between sobs. Eric led us into the icy night, ducking into an alley behind the bank. He checked the street, then handed me the folder. You have to choose, he said, voice tight. Use this to negotiate, or walk away and try to vanish. Before I could answer, Vanessa's phone lit up with a new message. She stared at it, pale as a ghost. It's them. They know we have the files. They're waiting at the docks, and they said if we don't show, they'll go after your mother's family next. Fury flared in my chest. My mother's side had always stayed out of this, the only part of my life that felt safe. Now, even that was under threat. I looked down at the folder, its secrets heavy in my hands. I could run. I could disappear, leave Vanessa and Eric to their fate. But I'd never forgive myself if I let innocent people get hurt. We end this tonight, I said, voice shaking. We go to the docks, but we go on our terms. We show them we're not afraid. Eric nodded grimly. Vanessa wiped her tears and squared her shoulders. As we walked into the darkness, I wondered if I was stepping toward justice, or a final, brutal reckoning. The city lights faded behind us. Ahead, at the docks, the shadows waited. The abandoned docks sprawled before us, ghostly in the yellow glow of broken streetlights. Shipping containers loomed like tombstones, wind whipping off the water and stinging my face. Every footstep echoed. Vanessa clung to my arm. Eric moved like a wolf, always scanning the shadows. We reached the meeting point, a rusted crane by the water, far from prying eyes. My heart hammered as dark figures emerged from behind a stack of crates. For men, all in black, faces blurred by hoods and anger. The tallest stepped forward, gun glinting in his fist. You have something that doesn't belong to you, he snarled. Eric squared his shoulders. You want what's in the folder? We want out. All of us. Safe, new names, and enough money to disappear. Or this goes to the police and the press. One of the men laughed, cold and hollow. You don't make demands. Hand it over, or we start with her. He jerked his chin at Vanessa. She whimpered, shrinking back. My mind raced. I looked at Vanessa, then at the folder and flash drive in my grip. I could feel my father's shadow at my back. Every lie, every secret pressing down on me. I forced myself to meet the gunman's gaze. No, you'll let us go, or everything in here goes public. We have backups. You'll never find them all. For a split second, the men hesitated, calculating. Eric whispered, now. He tossed a burner phone onto the ground. Screen lit up. A countdown timer, ticking down from 2 minutes. If we don't reset it, everything leaks. You want to test us? The standoff stretched. My hands shook. Vanessa squeezed my arm, silent tears streaking her cheeks. Then the leader barked. Fine. Put it down and go. If you ever speak of this, if you ever surface again, there won't be a warning next time. I placed the folder on the ground, backing away slowly, never breaking eye contact. But as we turned to leave, a sudden gunshot shattered the night. The crack of the gunshot echoed across the water, paralyzing us mid-step. I spun around, heart stalling. Had one of us been hit? For a split second, I couldn't move, could only register Vanessa's scream and Eric's sharp intake of breath. Then I saw him. Eric, clutching his arm, blood seeping through his sleeve. He staggered but stayed on his feet, eyes blazing with something fierce and unbroken. The gunman stepped forward, raising his weapon again, face twisted with rage. You think you can outplay us? He spat. You think threats mean anything to men like us? Vanessa collapsed to her knees, sobbing. My mind went blank except for one thought. I wouldn't let them take everything from me again. Without thinking, I snatched the flash drive from Vanessa and hurled it as hard as I could into the dark water behind the crates. It disappeared with a tiny splash. You want the rest? I shouted, voice shaking. You'll never get it. You touch us, your secrets drown with us. For a breathless moment, everything hung in the balance. The leader hesitated, gun wavering between us and the spot where the drive vanished. His men muttered, restless. Behind us, Eric ripped his shirt, tying it tight around his wound. The countdown on the burner phone reached 30 seconds. Finally, the leader growled, get out. If we see you again, anywhere, you're dead. We backed away, moving slowly, never turning our backs until the men faded into the shadows. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. Eric leaned heavy on my shoulder as we limped toward the streetlights. The night air was thick with fear, but underneath it all was relief, strange and fragile. We'd survived. For now. But as I glanced at Vanessa, pale and broken beside me, I knew nothing would ever be the same. We staggered through the empty streets, adrenaline fading, pain and exhaustion seeping in. Eric's face was ashen but determined. He refused to let us call an ambulance, afraid of drawing attention. Instead, we ducked into a shuttered pharmacy, Vanessa keeping watch while I clumsily bandaged his arm with trembling hands. No one spoke for a long time. The city was silent but for the distant thrum of police sirens, somewhere far from us, in our ruin. Finally, Eric broke the silence. "We need to disappear," he muttered, wincing as I tied off the bandage. "Change our names, leave everything behind. You have to understand, they'll always be watching." Vanessa nodded, eyes red and haunted. "What if they come after us again? What if they find out the truth?" I stared at her, trying to summon hatred, but all I saw was someone as lost as me. "What truth?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, voice barely above a whisper. "There's a backup. Your father, he left another flash drive. He told me if anything ever happened, to send it to the police." I hid it, but I didn't trust anyone until now. For a moment, hope flared, justice, maybe even closure. But it came with a price. Turning it over meant risking everything. Our safety, our futures. But maybe, after so much loss, there was nothing left to fear. Eric squeezed my shoulder, his voice rough. "It's your choice. You want to keep running, or end this for good?" I looked at the city lights shimmering through dirty glass, my reflection a stranger. My inheritance had brought only pain and danger. But maybe, if I was brave enough, it could bring something else, the truth. Vanessa handed me a slip of paper with an address, her hands shaking. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "it ends." Morning brought no peace. I barely slept, mind spinning with what I was about to do. As the sun climbed over the rooftops, painting the city in uncertain gold, I left the tiny apartment for the address Vanessa had given me, an old safety deposit box in a different part of town. Eric stayed behind, too weak to walk, and Vanessa, her nerves frayed raw, waited for my call. The streets felt different now, every stranger's face a possible threat. But my resolve was steel. I wouldn't run anymore. Inside the quiet bank, I signed the register with a name that barely felt like mine. The box slid open in my hands. Inside, a single flash drive and a short letter. "If you've come this far, I failed you. I wanted to protect you from my mistakes, but secrets always find their way home. Do what I couldn't. Choose what's right. Dad." I left the bank with the drive in my pocket, heart pounding. At a grimy internet cafe, I copied the files, evidence of every crime, every bribe, every person my father's world had corrupted. I sent one anonymous package to the police, another to the press. For the first time, I felt lighter, the burden shifting off my shoulders. By evening, the news broke, a citywide sting on money laundering, politicians and bankers named, faces I recognized from old family photos on TV, caught at last. There'd be blowback, maybe even danger, but I knew this was the only way. Back at the apartment, Vanessa wept, not just from fear, but relief. Eric raised a trembling glass to me, eyes shining. "You did it. You broke the cycle." I looked at the people around me, damaged, imperfect, but still standing. My inheritance was gone, but in its place, I'd claimed something more precious, truth, and a chance to finally heal. Tomorrow, we'd start again. Not as fugitives, not as victims, but as survivors.